I used to work at a gas station many years ago. I was the clerk in the convenience store, which was open 24 hours. As you can imagine, I worked the overnight shifts, and during those hours, I would find myself alone. The gas station was situated across the street from various stores, including Target and a few others. The area experienced high traffic during the day, and a nearby highway added to the hustle and bustle. However, at night, all the neighboring businesses closed by 10 or 11, leaving the gas station eerily quiet until around 6 a.m. I worked almost every night, becoming accustomed to the solitude. Most nights were uneventful, with only occasional cars passing by. Between midnight and 5 a.m., very few people ventured inside, averaging around 4 or 5 customers during that time, so roughly 1 person per hour. One night, as the clock approached 2 o'clock in the morning, I was behind the counter, and the store was empty. No cars were at the gas pumps either. Suddenly, a white van, the kind that looks typically creepy and a bit old, pulled in from the street. It parked in one of the spaces out front, and I anticipated someone getting out. However, the van sat there for about 20 minutes without any movement. I kept my eyes on it, trying to discern if anyone was inside. Eventually, the van backed out, but instead of leaving, it drove around to the side of the building, disappearing from my view. This struck me as odd and a bit creepy, but I tried not to let it bother me. As the night progressed, with only one car getting gas in the next hour, I noticed a man walking on the sidewalk towards the entrance. He seemed to come from the side where the van had gone earlier, wearing a large black winter jacket with the hood up. He kept his head down, making it impossible for me to see his face. Upon entering the store, he turned right and moved away from the counter. I returned my attention to my phone, and after a few minutes, I glanced up to see the man standing about 40 feet away, facing me with an angry expression. His hands were in his pockets, and I began to feel a sense of unease, confused as to what he was doing. After glaring at me for about 10 seconds, he remained stationary, not responding to my greetings or inquiries about his well-being. Growing increasingly uncertain about the situation, I continued to ask if he needed assistance, but he continued to ignore me. Unable to comprehend his behavior, I stood there in bewilderment as he eventually turned and walked out. He retraced his steps down the sidewalk and returned to the side of the building. Less than a minute later, the white van drove away, bringing a sense of relief. The remainder of my shift was relatively quiet, with a few more customers arriving later. However, I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling caused by the man's peculiar actions. I pondered over what he might have been up to, but the mystery lingered. Several nights later, around 2 a.m., I found myself alone once again, and the gas station was devoid of customers. The tranquility was abruptly disrupted when an old white van pulled into the station, the same one from the previous encounter. My apprehension heightened, hoping it wasn't the same man. The van parked and the man emerged, this time carrying what looked like a crowbar. He opened the back of the van, retrieved the tool, and proceeded towards the entrance, donning the same black winter jacket. He briskly walked to the back of the store, disappearing from my view. After a few minutes of eerie silence, a series of crashing sounds echoed through the store. It seemed the man was wreaking havoc with his crowbar. Alarmed, I witnessed him reappear in an aisle not far from me. Fearful for my safety, and feeling the situation was beyond my control, I hastily abandoned the store, sprinting to my car and promptly calling the police. Remaining in my locked car, I observed from a distance as the man leisurely exited the store, returned to his van, and drove away. The police arrived shortly after, and upon entering the store, we discovered the aftermath of his rampage. Shelves disheveled, items scattered. Reviewing the surveillance tapes, it became apparent that the man had unleashed chaos with no apparent motive. After whacking stuff, he calmly left. It was the craziest thing I had ever seen. Following the incident, the police launched an investigation to locate the man. For the next week, a police officer was stationed at the store overnight, but the man never returned. Despite the added security, I didn't stay at the job much longer. Quitting felt like a relief, because the nervousness of working there at night lingered since the bizarre encounter. This happened back in 2003. Later, I worked at Walgreens, a popular pharmacy store chain that also sells various items. The stores are usually not large and generally not too busy. The one I worked at used to be open 24 hours, though I'm uncertain if it still is. Working overnight meant being alone for most of the shift, which wasn't an issue since I could handle everything. Living just down the street, about a 10-minute walk away, I found the convenience of walking to and from work pleasant. One night, around 1 a.m., I heard the automatic doors open, and a woman entered the store. She seemed to be around 40, with dark brown hair, standing about 5'2" or 5'3", and slender. After greeting each other, she strolled down an aisle, and I continued standing behind the checkout counter. As time passed, I noticed the woman behaving oddly. She was partially hidden behind an aisle, holding a small video camera that seemed aimed at me. Perplexed, I wondered about her intentions, but she abruptly lowered the camera and disappeared behind the aisle. It struck me as strange, but I didn't dwell on it. A minute later, she bid me goodnight and left without making a purchase. Though slightly weirded out, I soon forgot about the encounter. As the hours went by, more customers came and went, and by 6 a.m., my shift ended. Another coworker took over, and I left Walgreens, heading back to my apartment along the dark sidewalk. The incident at the gas station wasn't far from my thoughts, and the night still held an air of unease. Back, things were very quiet. The occasional passing car was the only sound as I walked. However, I began to notice someone walking behind me, hearing distant footsteps. When I finally looked back after crossing a block, I was startled to see the same woman from Walgreens. Crossing streets and sidewalks, she continued to follow me back to my apartment. Despite feeling unnerved, I reached my apartment building. The security measures, requiring a key to enter the building and another for my unit, offered some comfort. I quickly entered my building and went to my apartment on the second floor, which faced the street. Looking out the window, I saw the woman standing on the sidewalk, recording me with her camera. Perplexed, I ducked out of sight, only to find her now filming my apartment window. After a few minutes, she disappeared, and I resumed my routine. Falling asleep around 9 a.m., I woke up at an unusual hour, nearly 2 p.m. later. I heard someone attempting to open my apartment door. Peering through the peephole, I caught a glimpse of the same woman. Disturbed, I called the police and reported everything. They promised to investigate, but I never received any follow-up. Despite the unsettling experience, I moved on from that job and apartment, eventually leaving the city. The woman's motives remained a mystery, lingering in my thoughts. Years later, while working as an overnight security guard, I couldn't recall the specific company. The job involved sitting at a desk, and nothing noteworthy ever occurred. Reflecting on these bizarre encounters, I still wonder about the woman's intentions and the odd incidents that marked those nights. Working as an overnight security guard at a standard office building, isolated from other establishments, the only other occupants during the night were another security guard and a janitor. The security guard mostly patrolled outside, and interactions with them and the janitor were infrequent. One night, around 1 a.m., while stationed at the lobby desk with a computer displaying basic information, I noticed a man approaching the front door. It was an unusual occurrence, as nobody had ever approached the building at that hour. The man looked inside, directly at me, with an eerie, unsettling smile. His wide eyes added to the unsettling atmosphere. Unsure of his intentions, I waved, but he didn't respond. The man then disappeared from view. Confused and slightly disturbed, I called the outside security guard, but he hadn't seen anyone. About 30 minutes later, the man returned, standing at the door with the same creepy smile. This time, I stood up, prompting him to vanish again. When I opened the door, he was gone. I informed the other security guard, and we searched the property, but found no trace of him. The property's size and limited outdoor security cameras made it easy for the man to evade us. For the rest of the night, he remained elusive, and I never encountered him again. The incident left me wondering about the man's identity and motives. In a different job, I worked in a small convenience store close to downtown, open 24 hours. The store attracted people day and night, with the sidewalk bustling with activity. The store, although small, offered various snacks and drinks. During my several months there, I often worked overnight shifts. The store's traffic varied, with the hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. being the quietest. One night, I found myself at the counter near the doors, facing the 5 aisles stocked with products. The store experienced both busy and quiet nights, depending on various factors. It was a job that kept me on my toes, especially during the unpredictable overnight hours. Police immediately and provided them with a description of the couple. The loud alarm had attracted attention from nearby businesses, and a few people came in to check on me and witness the aftermath. The police arrived relatively quickly, and I gave them a detailed account of the incident. Fortunately, the store had surveillance cameras that captured the entire confrontation. While waiting for the police to review the footage, I cleaned up the mess left by the unruly couple. After watching the footage, the police were able to identify the individuals and informed me that they were known for causing trouble in the area. It turned out they had a history of theft and confrontations with store employees. The incident served as a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of working night shifts in a city. Despite the occasional challenges, it also highlighted the importance of security measures like alarms and surveillance cameras in ensuring the safety of both employees and the store itself. In the aftermath, the store implemented additional security measures, and I became more cautious when dealing with difficult customers. It was an unsettling experience, but it reinforced the need for vigilance and the importance of staying safe while working in a 24-hour convenience store in the city. Hallways and corners. As I approached the area where I last saw the man, I couldn't find him. I checked the security monitors again, but he wasn't visible on any of the cameras. Feeling a bit uneasy, I continued my rounds, keeping a close eye on the monitors. It wasn't long before I spotted him again, this time on a different camera. He was now in a different hallway, seemingly attempting to open another door. I decided to approach him cautiously, not wanting to escalate the situation. As I walked toward him, he noticed me and quickly moved away, disappearing around another corner. I followed his path, trying to maintain a safe distance. The layout of the first floor was intricate, and he seemed to be intentionally avoiding me. Eventually, I lost sight of him, and when I reached the location where I last saw him on the security cameras, he was nowhere to be found. I decided to check the cameras again, and this time, I saw him entering the elevator. Concerned about his activities, I called the hotel's security team and informed them about the suspicious behavior. They assured me they would monitor the situation and dispatched a security guard to the first floor. A short while later, the security guard informed me that they had found the man on the third floor, attempting to open doors again. They confronted him, and it turned out he didn't have a room at the hotel. He was escorted out, and the security team made sure he left the premises. The incident left me with a heightened sense of awareness during my overnight shifts. It was a reminder that even in seemingly quiet and uneventful environments, unexpected situations could arise. Working in hospitality, particularly during the night, required constant vigilance to ensure the safety and security of the guests and the hotel itself. The gas cap incident that happened in the car, something that sends chills down my spine. My boyfriend and I were driving home from Universal Studios in Orlando last night. We found ourselves on an unfamiliar route in the middle of nowhere due to a rerouting. My boyfriend's car had a broken speedometer, and he had to reset the miles manually after each refueling, a detail that would become crucial later. As we drove along the desolate road with no other cars in sight, my boyfriend noticed that we had reached the 130-mile mark on the odometer. Realizing we needed gas, we searched for the nearest gas station, finding one that turned out to be closed. Fortunately, we located another one just 5 minutes away. Here's where things took an eerie turn. My boyfriend, thinking he had closed the gas cap, started driving again. Suddenly, we heard a loud bang, and he realized he had forgotten to put the gas cap back on. In the dark, we searched for the missing gas cap, only for my boyfriend to realize it was still attached to the car. With the gas cap secured, we continued towards the other gas station. However, an unsettling thought crossed my mind, one related to the gas cap incident. It sent shivers down my spine. Something was going wrong at that gas station, but I pushed it aside since we desperately needed gas, and AAA was not an option in our current location. As we pulled into the gas station, the lights were flickering, and the road ahead led to a dead end, with the gas station as the only visible structure. The only way out of the area was to turn left or go straight back the way we came. My boyfriend got out of the car to check if we could get gas, and that's when the unsettling feeling intensified. I had never experienced anything like it before. My stomach dropped, and a sense of dread enveloped me, despite encountering disturbing situations in the past, including almost being kidnapped twice, being followed home, witnessing someone taken away in a body bag after a car accident, and even a paranormal encounter. This was an entirely different level of fear. I noticed a white car approaching the road to make a left, even though there was no one else around. As the car pulled up, the driver noticed my boyfriend and abruptly backed up with the windows down. This struck me as odd, especially considering my boyfriend's flashy sports car. Panic set in, and I started screaming his name. The driver, realizing someone else was in the car, quickly turned left and sped off. Unfortunately, the darkness prevented me from noting his license plate. This situation frightened me more than I can convey. It might not seem particularly scary, but the uncertainty of whether I was about to witness my boyfriend being robbed at gunpoint intensified the fear. The unsettling feeling and thoughts I had just 10 minutes earlier added to the gravity of the situation. We eventually found another gas station with signs of human activity and made it home safe and sound. Upon returning home, my dad informed me that the road we had been driving on was notorious for the discovery of bodies. I sincerely hope no one else has to endure such a harrowing situation. To the man who seemed to be planning something sinister for my boyfriend, let's never meet again.